Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to talk about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. It's a movie that I haven't seen, just so you guys are aware, just for full transparency, but I have seen all the headlines. I've done all the articles that I have possibly could read on the Dial of Destiny, and Bounding Into Comics has a good summary of basically everything that I've read. I've watched the analytics in the box office right now. I've heard what everybody said this movie was going to do on either side, right? So you got people who were like, oh, this is going to be the greatest movie ever. It's going to definitely do well. And then you have people on the other side who are like, no, this thing's going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. And it looks like the people on the side of the losing hundreds of millions of dollars, they're the ones who are going to be correct in this particular scenario, because Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is an absolute mega bomb. This movie is one of the worst bombs we have seen from Lucasfilm or Disney in general in quite a while. It says Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny bombs at the box office, and only 9% of moviegoers heard it was good from friends and families. Ladies and gentlemen, when you don't have word of mouth, you're done. You're done. You have nothing you could possibly do if you don't have word of mouth. This is why all these billion-dollar movies, they're not successful because of the massive reviews online. Surely they help, but at the end of the day, word of mouth is what truly carries and makes people go to the movie theaters for certain movies. So we're going to get into the article, guys, but of course, before we do, just consider giving this video a like to push us out into the YouTube algorithm, and consider subscribing because we're on our way to 25,000 subscribers. It says Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny cratered during its opening weekend at the box office. According to the numbers, the film only grossed 60 million domestically in its 3-day opening weekend and another 70 million internationally for a global gross of $130 million. The film fell far short of box office projections. The numbers predicted the film would gross 73.8 million in its opening weekend. It also fell short of Box Office Pro's prediction of 70.3 million, albeit the outlet did note their prediction range for the film was between 60 and 77 million dollars. The film was also on the low end of Deadline's projections and fell short of its global projections. The outlet previously predicted the film would gross between 60 million and 65 million domestically, on its way up to a $140 million global opening. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, this particular movie is not going to do well at all. Now, you got to keep in mind, this movie, if this is your best, right? Like, you can tell which movies are going to be successful usually from its opening weekend. Now, some movies are lucky and they get holidays, so they get 4 days, right? They get 5 days, whatever. Most movies get a 3-day opening weekend, right? Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And this particular movie only did 100, whatever it was, some odd $1 million globally, and it's going to continue to tank because the word of mouth is not there. Indiana Jones got royally screwed over by Kathleen Kennedy, who has no idea what the hell she's doing. This is a woman who has failed upward for the last 10 years, I believe, and it's never going to go away. I mean, it's not going to go away until she essentially retires, and I don't think anybody's going to be able to forcibly remove her. I could be wrong, hopefully, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. Kathleen Kennedy is going to be around for quite a while. So it says, comparing the film to other Indiana Jones films, the movie failed to best the last film in the franchise, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That film grossed 100.1 million in its opening weekend, on its way to 317 million domestically and 786 million globally. It was also way back in 2008. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade also best Dial of Destiny when adjusting for inflation. Its 37 million opening back in 1989 translates to 90 million in 2023 dollars. Temple of Doom's 25.3 million opening in 1984 also trounced Dial of Destiny. In 2023 dollars, that's a $74.1 million opening. Is anybody surprised by this? Like, the movies of today are never going to compare to movies of yesterday, right? Because movies of yesterday were made with the art in mind, right? They were trying to actually make a good movie. They were trying to actually make something that people are going to want to go watch. Now, all these people do is make content, right? That's all it is, content. Content is like the most simplest form of just consuming, right? Like, it's like YouTube videos, right? But instead of a YouTube video being 8 minutes long, now you're watching a 2-hour plus long content where it's not anything that's trying to be even remotely close to the last movies. They're trying to be its own thing, and they're trying to be something that pushes a message. So this is why movies of today do not compare to movies of yesterday. It says, as for why the film did so bad, it appeared audiences did not like it despite an 88% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, which calls into question the reliability of the Fandango-owned website. Deadline reports that a ComScore screen engine post-track exit poll reveals that only 9% heard it was good from family and friends. Ladies and gentlemen, I've said it many times, Rotten Tomatoes is bought and paid for. Rotten Tomatoes is a website that they're starting to freeze audience scores once they get high enough. They're only letting in high scores get through, as they call verified user scores, right? So even though you may have bought a ticket, even though you may as well have been verified 100%, they're not going to let your score go through if it's anything less than probably a 4. I've seen them try to hide 1-star reviews that are paragraphs long because they call them bots, because that's the simplest way for them to try to push away the message that they're trying to narrate here. And they're trying to say that, oh, it's just racist haters, it's feminist haters, it's all these other kind of people. No, it's not a bad movie, it's just our fans are stupid. It's essentially what they're saying. The movie cinema score also came in at a paltry B+. For comparison, Fast X also received a B+, and The Flash received a B. Box office analyst OMB Reviews noted the box office haul is abysmal. This is awful. This is absolute doom for them. He then shared every Indiana Jones film, including in a not-to-be-counted Crystal Skull, made over $1 billion when you adjust the numbers for inflation. Every single Indiana Jones film, this movie, at this point, will be lucky to get to $400 million internationally, meaning not only will it be the worst-performing Indiana Jones film, but also it will not be just the biggest box office flop of the entire franchise, but possibly of the year, maybe even the past several years. Oh, that's pretty terrible. And if I remember correctly, the budget on this film was absolutely massive. It was like somewhere in the 300 million range because of all the reshoots and whatnot. So you got to imagine, just to break even on the budget, you got to hit 600 million total for your box office. And then now you got to do marketing and whatnot. It gets ugly at that point. You're talking about what? Making almost $800 million to break even. It's an obscene number for a movie like this. It says later in the video, OMB Reviews predicts the film would barely get to the 400 million worldwide following its opening weekend grosses. He then notes, even if it does get to 400 million, that would mean this film would still be around a $250 million loss. That is how bad this movie is doing. However, he notes 400 million worldwide could be a best case scenario. If this film is only getting to or barely getting to 200 million domestic by that weekend, that would mean a best case scenario would be $400 million. So ladies and gentlemen, imagine $400 million. So you get half of that, right? On average, you get half of that from the movie theaters. The studios take home half. So they're taking home $200 million on a budget of $300 million plus. And that's not even including marketing. This movie is going to flop so unbelievably hard, the likes of which I don't think anything has come even close. The only thing I could think of is maybe Strange Worlds. Probably. Strange Worlds is probably close to being as big of a flop. But in terms of anything else, I can't imagine anything else that is that big of a flop with such a big name. It's not like this is some random name that nobody knows of. It's Indiana fucking Jones. Like, how does this movie flop? Seriously, how does this movie flop? The only reason this movie flops is because they wanted to push a message. They wanted to make strong, independent woman who needs no man be the girl boss, beat up Indiana Jones, punch him around, girl boss him to death, and essentially they ran with it. They ran with their ideology, and that's essentially where this gets them. So this is what happens when you get woke and go broke, and I'm sure they can afford it. They take hundreds of millions of dollars of losses every single movie, it seems like. So there's really no point to even complain at this point. Just keep losing money. It's okay. The movies push out the message. The parks make you your money. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy, and if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.